What's going on, everybody? Chris with the Fantasy Football Algorithm. Jake and I are here. We just finished up a Dynasty startup draft. Where did we pick?
10.
Pick 10 of 10 teams. We want to go over a little bit of that with you today. If you're thinking about starting up a Dynasty startup or where to start, or even just see if you're like me and you just want to get as much information as you can, what other people are doing. So we're going to jump right into it here. The league we drafted for the league type was Dynasty Startup. We talked about 10 teams, non-snake. What do you think about the non-snake, dude?
I was not a fan.
1 point PPR. The starters it's actually one QB, but one super flex. So to me, that makes it a 2 QB league that's starting every week. 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex, not including the super flex. You know what flex is, right?
Yeah, wide receiver, tight end, running back.
There you go. Super flex means
You have QB.
QB. That's what's up. 1 defense, 1 kicker, 12 bench, 2 IR, and 3 taxi. So Jake, what did you think about the draft now that we did 26 picks, dude? What did you think? What round did we start losing you a little bit?
Like 20.
So you saying you at 20 you were like, I don't know any of these guys, or was it more than that?
It was probably like 16, but I started losing interest around like 20.
And how do you feel like you were with the rookies? Were you like oblivious to them, or did you recognize?
I recognize
a
a
lot of
couple of them, but we didn't get any.
Yeah, they were pulling it up. We're gonna see what we got going on here. So, we're not gonna go. We're gonna do the first 10 rounds. We're not gonna do. When I say the first 10 rounds, I don't mean pick by pick. We're gonna do pick by pick for the first 2 rounds, and then we'll go from there. With who we picked, who was around at that area, and then we'll go from there. So now that we got what it is that we're doing, how the draft goes. First pick in the draft was Josh Allen, first overall, which is pretty standard for super flex leagues. Uh, Second pick was Jamar Chase. Third pick was Lamar Jackson. Then we had Jaden Daniels, which he was still just a rookie last year. So it's a little crazy how fast things can change. And you're talking the 4th overall pick in the Dynasty, Jaden Daniels. All right. Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow. The big thing for me going into this draft was I needed 5 QBs going before pick 10. That's just by the math that I had. If I picked 10, there's a group of guys that I wanted there. But already off the board, first 6 picks, 5 QBs go. After that, these next 5 guys, again, I picked 10. There's 5 guys available, and it's at pick 6. So I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at. The one guy that I had starred and highlighted went next pick, Jamar Gibbs. Gibbs is a guy that I drafted last year, like 5th overall. It's just he just passes the eyeball test. When you watch the Detroit Lions game, man, it's hard not to see Jamar Gibbs, and that says a lot when you have Goff, St. Brown, and Sam Laporta out there. But Gibbs he steals the show when he's out there. So I remember when I took him last year, super early. It didn't got some remarks, I should say, just a couple of remarks. But after Gibbs was Genty, again another guy that if you're doing a dynasty, and how my dynasty philosophy is, I don't look at their careers. I look at the next 3 years. I don't look beyond that. I don't overvalue rookies. A lot of people do, and we're going to go over that when we start going through round by round. But yeah, Genty, and then the next pick number 9, 1 pick before me. There was news that Justin Jefferson hurt his knee or foot. Was a foot. And I was really hoping that people were going to be nervous about that and let him fall, and he did fall here, but he got picked 1 spot in front of us. So that leads us to our first round pick. Are you happy with our first round pick?
Yeah.
So we took Bijan Robinson at 10, round 1, pick 10. This was, again, with the PPR. When you draft, running backs, you try to get those guys that also can catch, that have that dual purpose kind of thing, and that's one of the reasons why Gibbs, Genty, well, more Gibbs than Genty, but when Bijan fell here at 10, it was hard not to pull the trigger on him. Of course, people will say, "Well, you want wide receivers in the dynasty. You want wide receivers." So, yeah, you do. You also want running backs. You also want quarterbacks. Um, so I was pretty happy here with Bijan. I think Bijan's going to go a little nuclear. I hope. But man, they didn't really use him when Arthur Smith was there. They still use a lot of Algier, but I'm fine taking a guy with huge upside this year. And man, I love the coach and Morris too. So some of the guys that went after us, the other guy I was really considering here, but it was Neighbors. Neighbors was I think he was the next pick. Was he the next pick? Yeah, he was the next pick. So um, he's only going to get better. I don't think I'm not a huge Jackson Dart fan. Obviously, not a big Russell Wilson fan from last year with Pittsburgh. But you feel like this guy's going to eat. He's going to keep going. And he's only going to get better as they get when they draft their franchise quarterback next year. I know they took Dart, but I just don't. I see it more of a Arizona kind of thing where they took Rose, and then the next year they were just so bad they had to take Kyler because they had the first overall pick. So I think Neighbors is a guy that nothing but upside. But who else was there? CeeDee Lamb, Brian Thomas. So and after Brian Thomas, um, Barkley went, Puka went, Marvin Harrison Jr. went, Brock Bowers. And it started getting a little head scratchery whenever I see Justin Herbert. I've never been a Herbert guy, so he's one of those guys I was just like, somebody else can have him. I'm not going to draft him. Somebody else can have him. Then we had Amon-Ra St. Brown. Led us back to our second round pick here, pick number 20. We went with Devon Achane. Now, if you know anything about me, Achane is a flag plant kind of guy for me this year. I think he's going to be huge, sort of like how Gibbs was for me last year. Achane, I think, is really gearing up to have almost, wouldn't surprise me, 100 catch season for a running back. I've seen it. I've seen guys that can do it. Marshall Faulk, Edgerrin James, those kind of guys. That's who he reminds me of. I think he gets lost in the weeds with Waddle and Hill and Tua. But I tell you what, man, you go back and you look at his stats from last year when Tua was healthy. Tua is not afraid to check down the ball. You have Hill, Waddle just extending those offenses vertically. Achane's going to eat. Not even just short, but also intermediate. They really don't have anybody. They traded away Jonnu Smith. They traded for the corpse of Darren Waller. And I'm not knocking Darren Waller, man. He's one of my favorite players ever. One of the best NFL stories you've ever heard. I root for the guy. I just don't think that he's going to help them much intermediately, especially if something like Hill, who's a little bananas. You hear Waddle, who just got re-signed, but I think Devon Achane is a guy that I have no problem building my squad around, and somebody if those 5 QBs didn't go in the first round, he would have been somebody that if Neighbors goes and Robinson goes, I'd be thinking about Achane there at the end of round 1. My flag plant guy. Anything you want to say about Achane? You don't know a lot about him. You just know he's good.
Nope.
You just have me hyping him up, huh? Yeah, I think Miami's defense is going to be pretty terrible. So these guys are going to. It wouldn't surprise me if they were top 5, top 10 draft pick next year, and I think Achane has the highest trajectory for the next 3 years out of almost any running back in fantasy football. So, guys that went out. Who's some guys that went after him, Jake?
Drake London, Hampton, and Ladd.
So, Mari Hampton again. It goes back to rookies, right? When dynasty drafts come around, these rookies tend to get pretty highly valued. It's funny, being a big football guy, you get so excited for the draft. And when you get to the draft and there's guys like, oh, Hampton isn't a first round pick. Hampton isn't this. Hampton isn't that. But it gets to Dynasty football. This guy is end of round 2, early round 3. It's just funny the way that pendulum swings once he's picked, and different opinions come around. And then Najee, he never quite had the best vision, but not so much.
He doesn't have good vision now.
Definitely doesn't have better vision. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, Achan. So far we have Bijan, Achan, and then we're not going to go through the rest of these picks, man. We'll just go through it. What we took here at the end of round 3, pick 30. We took Patrick Mahomes, which is wild to me that Patrick Mahomes is there in the 3rd round because 2 quarterbacks went before him that was a little bit of a head scratcher. So you have Drake May, and I understand we live in North Carolina, and Drake May is a big guy, but that's a lot of faith in Drake May. You're telling me the next 5 years are going to be better than Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid? He's losing Kelsey. Yeah, I don't care. His wide receivers. Yeah, I don't care. When it comes to Dynasty, getting a franchise QB, it's hard to do. Just like, let's say you take these guys, you have a Bo Nix, or you take a Jaden Daniels, and let's say he has a down year or bad year. Look at somebody like CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud is an elite quarterback. He just hasn't got there yet, but I think he's on his way to get there. But the 2 guys that went before Patrick Mahomes was Justin Herbert a whole round before. When we were talking about Achan, they were talking about, we're talking about Herbert going to round 2. I'm not sure what this guy's ever done for him to get that much respect. Why? Because he got Cheater Harbaugh on his squad? Like, he got Cheater Harbaugh as his coach? Whatever. Okay. Especially when the offense Harbaugh comes in and builds his team around running the ball. If Herbert was that elite, you would think you'd start giving them some weapons. Oh, they even lost Josh Palmer. I like Josh Palmer. But, who do they got there now? Oh, they got Ladd. Okay. They got Ladd. So if you stop Ladd, who else you got? So you have a running game. Well, we'll see, man. I'm happy it happened that way. And the other guy that was picked, Herbert and Drake May. Drake May. Can you name me any New England wide receivers? Stephon Diggs, who's out there on the boats. But yeah, that's Kendrick Bourne, I think. I don't know. But yeah, we took Mahomes around 3. I don't know how. I understand people are sort of Kansas City fatigued, but if you're a football fan and you're watching Patrick Mahomes, how don't you just want that guy on your team? You also have one of the greatest offensive minds in Andy Reid. These guys are mind melded together. And then you have, is Hollywood Brown on that squad now? I think Hollywood Brown's on the squad. He's been moved so many times in the last 4 years. It's hard to keep track. But then you have Xavier Worthy. And then you have the corpse of Travis Kelce, who's still going to score touchdowns, man. Tell you what, when you get down in that red zone, you're going to see Travis Kelce stats this year somewhere around 4 catches, 2 touchdowns, 40 yards. Like, that's not bad. That's pretty good for guys at that age. So, Jake, who were picked after Patrick? Don't even. There was another one right after we picked Mahomes. 2 picks later, Bo Nix went. Man, Bo Nix. 2 picks after Patrick Mahomes. It's wild. It's wild out there in the Dynasty streets, boys.
JSN.
Oh, okay. So Jackson Smith, Jigba, who's over in Seattle. Trey McBride.
And George Kittle.
George Kittle, man. He's a guy that everyone is now sort of getting onto. I swear if we drafted a week earlier, it would have been, George Kittle would have been around 5, round 6, but it's not that easy. So starting off, we got Bijan, Achan, Mahomes. Round 4, we went wide receiver with AJ Brown. I know he's getting up there in age, but he's still AJ Brown. And the whole point of leagues isn't to win a league 5 years from now, because most leagues have an entry fee every year. So we're trying to win. We're trying to make the best of the scenario of all these things. That's why we do we have these guys as high ranked as we do because we're trying to win. We're trying to find that sweet spot where it's we're not all rookies, we're not all veterans. We're trying to put the best team on the field and go from there. So AJ Brown, just an absolute stud. And he was traded away from Tennessee, and then they drafted Trayvon Burks or something. It was like a straight up trade. It's wild. Um, but yeah, he's just been killing it with the Eagles, and with Barkley, it just opens that offense up. Now, will AJ Brown have games where he has 4 catches and 50 yards? Yeah, of course he is. Is he going to have games where all of a sudden he goes nuclear? He has 11 balls and 160 yards and 2 touchdowns? Yeah, if you had AJ Brown before, uh, he's a beast, dude. So who was taken after him right after that?
Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor. Now, we were actually debating taking another running back, and Jonathan Taylor was a guy that he went the next pick, and we were really debating, do we take him? Do we take AJ Brown? But with no wide receivers on our squad, we took him on. After that was Chase Brown, Travis Hunter. Again, Travis Hunter, he's one of those guys that I let other people draft. I don't even consider him. Let somebody else take the hype train. The whole dual player thing, I just don't buy it at all. I just think you're playing in the NFL, man. More car crashes that you're going to be in. You think you're going to get more playing time out of this guy? You think he's going to play all the offensive snaps and, oh no, a handful of third down snaps? Yeah, so he's in more car crashes. I just don't understand how people will think that this guy's going to come into the NFL and be a dual threat. Um, even Charles Woodson sort of found his way in what he was doing. So imagine trading a first round pick, next year's first round pick, to take a guy that's going to play, I don't know, maybe play corner for you a little bit in the second overall pick. And we'll see, man. We'll see. I'm not a huge Travis Hunter guy. I mean, I definitely see the talent there. I definitely see how good he can be, but he's no AJ Brown. He's no Jonathan Taylor to me. But the other guy was Chase Brown, running back for Cincinnati, went right after us, and I'm surprised that he was that high. But I mean, here you go again, Cincinnati, what they do, and the weapons that they have. Why not have a guy that can, give you a year maybe? But I just don't see Chase Brown being a long term answer in Cincinnati. So whatever. Another guy's Rasheed Rice, and we talked about him too. He went right after, but he seems a little bit like turning into a little bit of a knucklehead. So, round 5, we ended up taking Xavier Worthy. Again, this ties into us having Patrick Mahomes. And I think Xavier Worthy, they're really going to use him another year in the system with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. I could see this guy getting somewhere between 3 or 4 carries a game to go along with some screen game, to go along with some deep game. I think he's the ultimate kind of second wide receiver this year in redraft, but this isn't redraft. This is Dynasty. So I just, you hope for already having Patrick Mahomes. So you hope Xavier Worthy's really going to come around and be that guy in the offense. He was a first round pick for them, and sort of figuring out how to use them. But believe me, I have faith in Andy Reid and that Kansas City offense. So I'm not saying Xavier Worthy's going to turn into some crazy alpha wide receiver like AJ Brown, but I could see him being a little more gadget plays and getting somewhere between 7 to 9 touches a game. And a guy like that, I'm fine with that. It's just one of those things. Just give him the ball, see where it goes. Guys drafted around him. Who did we have around him?
Kyron Williams,
running back for the Rams.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Jacobs and Walker.
Yep. So in round 6, we ended up taking Chuba Hubbard for Carolina. I was always a fan of this guy. He just never could really put it together. They drafted Jonathan Brooks because they thought that, they needed a bell cow kind of back. But as soon as Brooks got hurt, and they're like, oh, we don't have anybody else, and Hubbard just delivered. He just delivered. he's pretty much the engine in that Carolina offense. I know Bryce Young. They drafted Tet McMillan. They got Adam Thielen, who's going to run those beautiful little 4 yard plays. And then their tight end scenario, that's a little rough. But I think that offense, and they have a good offensive line, man. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars on that offensive line, and it was pretty good. So we took Hubbard there. Guy what really debated on in round 6 was Quinton Jenkins for Cleveland. I think he's going to be an absolute kind of Nick Chubb. I know that's a lazy comparison, but not Nick Chubb the player, but Nick Chubb the role. I think is what I'm going for. But that Cleveland offensive line is nowhere near what it was when Chubb was banging, and that was a hard pick. The Quinton Jenkins versus the Chuba Hubbard was a hard pick, but another guy that was there that we didn't debate, but T.J. Hawkinson was a guy. He was always been solid tight end. Another rookie after that was R.J. Harvey, the Denver running back. He was another one of those guys that just let other people draft. So in round 7, we came back around, took our second QB. There was really a cliff after Jared Goff. And man, Jared Goff and his weapons, you look at Amon-Ra, it goes back to Gibbs, goes back to Jameson Williams, to Sam Laporta. It's one of those things that they have so many weapons that if you can't overpay for one of those weapons, because someone's going to overpay for one of those weapons, and you have an offense that just is churning out points, just take the QB. Just hope you take the QB. And I like taking QBs like Goff, where Goff's the guy that, he was run out of town in LA. Guy went first overall, ended up going to the Super Bowl, ran him out of town, and then they win without him. It's so easy to root for guys like Jared Goff. He isn't going anywhere in Detroit. Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere in Kansas City. So when I look at quarterbacks, I would rather have an Evan Flow, kind of basic, kind of going to be there every week, might have some spikes, it's not going to have Lamar Jackson numbers or Josh Allen numbers, but there's a reason why those guys go first overall. We're talking round 7. You're looking at guys like Penix and the Brock Purdy's of the world and those kind of QBs, whereas I think Jared Goff is just, from a dynasty standpoint, is everything you'd want in a second QB. He ain't gonna lose you the game, but he also he may not go nuclear. Sometimes he does. That's the beauty of that offense. One screen pass that Jamar Gibbs turns into a 55-yard touchdown, and he threw the ball behind him. Those are the kind of offenses that I want to invest in. What were some of those picks after him?
George Pickens.
Oh, your boy, dude.
Yeah.
Has he fumbled anymore or gotten in any fights or anything since the draft? It's only been 20 minutes.
And Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy, man. Brock Purdy. Okay. Again, Brock Purdy, okay. Joe Mixon. Never been a Mixon guy, but I understand if people are. But no, I just think once Houston signed Nick Chubb, they drafted Woody Marks too. They really, once they started doing that, I'm one of those people that, what are the teams telling you? And the teams are telling you if they're signing Nick Chubb and they're drafting guys, they're bringing in 2 new running backs to that room, sort of staying away from Joe Mixon. So we took off to start over, man. We so far we got Bijan, Achane, Mahomes, AJ Brown, Xavier Worthy, Chuba Hubbard, Jared Goff, and the next guy we took in round 8 was Jalen Waddle. He just signed a 3-year monster extension. Again, going back to what teams are saying, what's the team telling you? The team's telling you that's their guy. It's just that simple. He's their guy. If Tua stays healthy, if everyone stays healthy, and that's the thing with the Dolphins. People say, "Oh, if they can stay healthy or he can stay healthy," it's the NFL. Like, it's the NFL. it's hard staying healthy. So I think Jalen Waddle here is a good kind of solidifying the wide receiver room because who do we got still? We got what AJ Brown and Waddle. Are those the only guys that we got so far? No, and Worthy. And Worthy. We just talked about it anyway. So this rounds out our three wide receivers, just like Hubbard rounded out our three running backs. But yeah, I think Jalen Waddle is going to be the guy in Miami. It's funny. I think Tyreek Hill went a couple picks before him. Just why some of these picks get picked back to back. Same position, or the same player, or the same position, same team. So yeah, we took Waddle, the 80th overall pick, round 9. Travis Etienne. He's one of those guys that I think he's out after this year. I don't think Jacksonville's picking up his option. They drafted Tootin, and Bigsby's there too. Both those guys are. I was going into this draft, this dynasty draft. I would have had no problem drafting all three of them. I wouldn't have a problem taking Etienne, Bigsby, and Tootin because I think that at some point maybe Etienne loses the job this year, or he really the carries really go down. But here's the thing: they've been trying to get rid of Etienne now since Urban Meyer went clubbing. You know, they've been trying to get rid of Etienne, but they just can't. He just constantly is the best running back on the team, and remember when he was drafted, he talked about how much his screen game and how good he is catching the ball out of the backfield. We really haven't seen a whole lot of that yet. And I think with my man, the new coach coming over from Tampa Bay, really, he's already put his stamp on him. He traded up for Travis Hunter. He got his guy Tootin. He's really tried to. Man, they already have Brian Thomas. They have a really, really dynamic offense. So if you take those pieces just outside, and then they signed Dwami Brown to a 1-year, $10 million contract, so they're going to run trips all the time. So you're going to have 3 wide receivers on the field. This goes back to Travis Hunter, right? Like if you have him on the field all the time, I wouldn't be having him tackling people in the corner. But you have Etienne that can sort of really be powerful in this offense whenever you look at all the different weapons that they have and those kind of things that really makes an offense go. And I think they're going to try and take carries away from Etienne. I think you could see early on starting to really chisel away at him, but don't be afraid, man, because I'm telling you, Etienne, even after this year, he's going to have a starting running back gig somewhere like Houston. Somewhere like Cincinnati. He's going to be a starting running back next year for somebody. And he's going to get paid halfway decent to go there and play. So I had no problem taking Etienne here in round 9. I know that people are like, oh, he's going to lose his job. Yeah, he might. But I tell you what, he'll have one again next year. And we'll be talking about Etienne and where they're going. And then this is why I take all 3 of them. So if Etienne's gone, Tootin and Bigsby are there, splitting carries again. You still have 3 running backs next year. Again, Dynasty, I'm not looking who's the starter long term. I'm looking at 3 years from now. From the time we draft them to 3 years. That's all I look at in Dynasty. So who else was left? After that, I think that's when
it was Mike Evans, Brandon Ayuk, and Cortland Sutton.
So Cortland Sutton's a guy that we were considering that too. We talked about Bo Nix, but here we go again. No, how can you say you don't like Bo Nix, but you like Sutton? So we're in round 9, boys. We're in round 9. We got things we have to make decisions. They're not all going to be pretty. So, and then the last pick we're really going to go over here is our round 10 pick. We took Josh Downs, wide receiver for Indy, and we put the picture up here of Daniel Jones. Because I think a lot of Josh Downs, incredible slot receiver, really he can move, man. He reminds me a little smaller kind of Juju whenever he was with the Steelers. They move him around, and he's just going to get the balls. I mean, last year, who was it? Joe Flacco throwing him the ball. Anthony Richardson throwing him the ball. Now you start having a guy like Daniel Jones, who's just, sixth overall pick or something for the Giants. His best season, he was out here throwing to Richie James, and guys like that. And he really never had a good offensive line. He never could do those things. But Indianapolis is a good organization. So I'm really betting on Josh Downs here. Those guys can draft. They can do all those kind of things. And right around that time, that's where a lot of the third quarterbacks started coming off. Penix, Prescott, Tua. Again, I wanted Tua, but once we took off, once we solidified those two starting quarterbacks, it was hard not to just wait until we took another one. So there was another 14 rounds, 16 rounds after this. So I'll just do a quick overview of what we got going on. Our strengths, man, we got some catching running backs, guys of the PPR. I really like not having rookie wide receivers. As much as we draft them and redraft every year, or as much as we draft them in Dynasty, feels like every year you're taking 2-3 wide receivers in Dynasty drafts. But as a startup Dynasty draft, like I said, we're trying to win the next 1, 2, 3 years. We're trying to win this year. We're trying to win next year. We're trying to win. We're just going to keep trying to win. So how do we do that? I don't think that's rookie wide receivers. Yeah, you could say Justin Jefferson, right? Justin Jefferson will win you a league. Yeah, of course you will. Also, Jalen Reagor ain't winning you a league either whenever he was drafted by the Eagles, right? So it's all hit or miss. It's all NFL. If anyone says they know, they don't know. I don't know. You don't know. Coaches don't know until the games are being played. Again, the potential starters for next year, this goes back to ETN. Another guy we took later was Jalen Warren. The Steelers is, if he resigns with the Steelers after this year, because he's in a contract year, or they signed him to second year tender, I think. So he got 1 year, and you hope that he starts to produce. I mean, he gets his fumbling issues under control. That's rough. But again, Jalen Warren's a guy that he could really go somewhere else next year. He could go to Cincinnati. He could go, and then again, here you are. He's going to be a starter somewhere. So we took him, and then guys like, we took late round guys, potential starters next year, like Blake Corum's of the world. We have guys like that. And then the established QBs that we have, Mahomes, Goff. We ended up taking Stafford. Of course, he got hurt. Did you see he got hurt?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he got hurt, and they said he's questionable for week 1 or something. So, but yeah, that's the way the world works, man. We draft him, and then a day later he gets you see that report, but you worry because that's sort of how JJ McCarthy was last year. It was just like, oh, he's only gonna be out for a couple weeks, and then you're just like, oh, IR. Guess he ain't playing this year. But I really like having established quarterbacks in Dynasty, even if they aren't the most flashy. Guy I really wanted was Kyler Murray, but he was just too rich for my blood. I couldn't take him any other, and it was hard to pass on a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Our weaknesses with our team, man, our tight ends are grim. We waited till round. You remember what round? Right, it was a long time. First tight end we took was the Cleveland tight end Njoku? Yeah, we took him. Then we took Ferguson for LA, the rookie, and then we took Dallas's tight end, who just signed a contract extension. So good job, dude. So we just looking at guys that could potentially get the third mouth to feed. So our tight ends are grim.
We took Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, dude. He wanted Kyle Pitts. I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do it anymore. We do have a lack of rookie potential. I think the 2 rookies we took were very late. We took Marks, the running back for Houston, just as a flyer. Once, I thought it was Joe Mixon, and Nick Chubb. Someone already took Nick Chubb, but talked second to last rookie here. And then we took a guy that we have an IR spot, or no, an IR spot. What do we have? A taxi spot that we can put rookies on. So I took Ewers for the Dolphins, the last pick. Mr. Irrelevant was the last pick, and he was on there. So you don't even know who that dude is, huh? Ewers. So we also took a lot of like team based connections, a lot of um like we got Mahomes, Worthy, we got Stafford, we got Ferguson, the tight end, and then we have Daniel Jones and Josh Downs. So when it comes to Dynasty, there's never anybody on the waiver wire ever. And if there is, they're getting gobbled up pretty quick, and you're blowing a lot of your fab on those guys anyway. So, um, yeah, I think that we'll see how the squad goes, but man, football's coming around here, and couldn't be happier with that, dude. So Jake, you got anything you really want to say, dude? And what do you think about the squad? You just want to?
I'm ready for your games.
Yeah, dude. When did games start? In 2 days or something?
31st.
Yeah. So yeah, this is Chris with the fantasy football algorithm, sort of giving you a taste of what our dynasty draft sort of looked like, and hopefully this can help you guys if you're looking at dynasty and things like that. We're gonna cut this up and make some clips, and just have me talking and doing those things, and so yeah. Is there anything you want to say, Jake? We're gonna be doing a lot of these, so all right, man. So I've been doing this for 25 years, and Jake this was his rookie dynasty draft. So I'm not exactly real fluent in it either, but yeah, keep watching. Hit that subscribe button. Follow us with the free newsletter. That's going to be the fantasy football algorithm, and we're going to keep going and keep making content and loading it up on our YouTube channel. So. For love of the game, man, you guys go out there, have a good day, and good luck in your draft.